welcome back to Sunday Stories. I'm telling you about the time that I sat in court during a real trial. And yes, it was a murder trial. You will find out what happened. You will find out what happened to the person, their sentencing. I've got it all. The year was 2019. I know what you're thinking. Like, how did you end up in a courtroom? So, over here in Ontario, that is a thing that you can do. You can actually go and watch any trial you want and sit in the courtroom. We got some pics here. My friend Jenny from Windsor came to visit me in Toronto. We went out, we had the Jonas Brothers concert, and then she was saying, because we were gonna go shopping the next day, we were gonna go to the Christmas market, we were gonna go to the Eaton Centre, and next to the Eaton Centre is the courthouse. So she was like, let's just go watch a trial. So it was totally her idea. Don't kill me for this, Jenny, but we were like so hungover the next day from the concert that she wore sunglasses inside all day. Anyways, so it was her idea. We got up bright and early. It started, I think, at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and we literally waltzed in the courtroom, which was practically empty, which makes it so much more uncomfortable. And all there was a few members of the family of the person convicted. And that's it. And you'll understand why when I tell you the case. We sat there. The family's looking at us like, who are you? You're no one related to this case. We're just nosy. And then the man who committed murder was looking at us because there's no one in the courtroom. So he's literally looking into my soul being like, why are you here? And I'm sitting there being like, why am I here? I honestly wanted to be there because I just have always wondered what it is like. And it was the coolest experience ever. This is the case that we went to see. Jury convicts man of M, I'm just gonna say M, for mercilessly beating 82-year-old Scarborough grandmother. It was not his grandmother, it was just a grandmother. This is the man. I remember him very clearly because he was looking into my soul the whole time, being like, what are you two bimbos doing here watching this very personal and intimate thing? I'm not joking when I say there was 4 people and then us. And then like the security and officer, like could not have been more uncomfortable. And that is the poor woman. And I thought maybe more people on her family would be there, but no. Also, that would be very hard to sit through all the details because it's a pretty gruesome case. We're gonna go through this case. And this is everything I heard. This is everything I listened to and witnessed. It was nuts. A jury has convicted a man of second-degree M for inflicting what prosecutors said was an insane level of ultra-violence on a defenseless 82-year-old grandmother after breaking into her Scarborough bungalow 4 years ago. At the time, Sinbad King Simba Marshall, he was 25, was on probation for a shockingly similar crime and was also on bail pending sentence for another violent attack. After a 6-week trial, the jury retired Wednesday morning. This is when I was there. To consider whether Marshall was guilty of M or M slaughter, as the defense had argued. M conviction requires that an accused had the required intent to kill. The jury returned to court Thursday. I was not there for this. I never actually got to hear the sentencing. I was there on the Wednesday when they were going through the trial. So we Googled it the next day because we wanted to find out. The jury returned to court Thursday around the dinner hour to say they were at an impasse. Superior Court Justice Robert Goldstein asked them to return to the hotel for the night after a long day of deliberations and try again to reach a unanimous verdict. They were back in court before noon Friday to say they all agreed Marshall was guilty of second-degree M, which means they did not believe his testimony. Wait till you hear what he was claiming happened. During the trial, Marshall told the jury he broke into the home the night of November 9th, 2015, thinking it was empty. When he saw Stella Tetsos, I hope I'm saying that right, Marshall said he made a bad decision and panicked and attacked her, but didn't think she would pass away. He told the jury he left the home after stealing her jewelry, believing she was fine and well. So when I was in there, he was describing this, and basically he said that he attacked her and hit her and she fell down, and his plan was that was enough for him to take some things, and he took some jewelry and then left. So he left and thought, she didn't pass away, but it was like almost like a quick thing. She fell down, he ran, grabbed some stuff and left. Like, she was obviously hurt, but not, she was alive. Prosecutors urged jurors to reject Marshall's version, saying the evidence overwhelmingly showed he mercilessly attacked her to ensure the only eyewitness couldn't identify him. Prosecutor David Steinberg told the jury during his closing address, "This is an overwhelmingly damning case of cold-blooded M." Marshall did not react as the verdict was read out in court. The victims' family members sobbed and hugged prosecutors. Oh, that would have been so hard to see. So I'm kind of glad I wasn't there for that. In June 2013, Marshall broke into another elderly woman's house not far from where Tetsos lived, held a weapon to her throat, and threatened to end her life. According to a Toronto police synopsis, he tied her hands together, punched and kicked her in the face and chest before fleeing. She suffered a large wound to her arm, broken teeth, a broken hand, and cuts and bruises to her face and hands, the document says. Marshall received an 18-month sentence and was put on probation for 3 years. In May 2015, while on probation, he punched and choked a man while robbing him of gold chains, according to another police synopsis. He pleaded guilty to it and was released on bail pending sentencing. During that time period, he killed this woman. Arrested for the M within days, Marshall was photographed by undercover police officers wearing her ring. He went around and wore her jewelry after that. I remember this. He was in custody when he was sentenced to 7 months in jail for the chain robbery. Lou Tetsos, which means it's a family member, said he was totally freaked out when he heard a violent offender with a long criminal record was out on probation and bail when he attacked his mother, a kind, caring woman who shared vegetables from her garden with neighbors. That just kills me. That kills me. Like, that is so heartbreaking. I remember him saying in court that when he scouted out the house and looked through the window that he broke in, I don't remember, I think it was like a ground level one, like a basement one. When he broke in and looked through, like it was all dark and stuff, so he didn't think anyone was home. I don't know if that's real, but that is what he was saying. She was probably trying to sleep. Medical evidence presented during the trial showed that she suffered dozens of rib fractures and had 94 contusions all over her body, injuries inflicted when Marshall delivered a crushing series of blows while attacking her from head to toe. He smashed her head with such force that he tore structures deep in her brain and destroyed her ribs and injured her heart, lungs, and organs. Oh my God. She's not an MMA fighter, Steinberg said. This is not a fair fight. It's a slaughter. I remember he was just emotionless. Not one facial expression came upon his face when he was talking or when they were talking about anything. He was like, his headshot, that image, that was his face the entire time. And he just mumbled, like he talked like this. And every time like I made eye contact, I was like, anyways, yeah, he did no remorse. In his address, defense lawyer Chris Hicks argued his client's intention was to steal jewelry, not end her life. A number of facts prevented Marshall, he was homeless and had an addiction, from foreseeing the likelihood of her passing, Hicks continued. He was too stoned and drunk to form the intent to M and was unaware she had health deficits that contributed to her passing, including heart and kidney disease and osteoporosis, I hope I said that right, which made her ribs particularly vulnerable to impact blows. I can't even imagine being a lawyer and trying to defend this case. You sound stupid. That's the defense. Oh, well, he was too drunk and he didn't know she had health issues and that like, it doesn't matter. He broke into her home and attacked her, whether she was in perfect health or not. As well, some of her broken ribs were likely attributed to the CPR that was administered by 4 people, Hicks said. Steinberg said there was no evidence other than Marshall's own testimony that he was drunk, noting that he came prepared for the break and enter with a mag light, gloves, a weapon, and pry tool. Steinberg also rejected the claim that some of the injuries to her ribs came from CPR, noting a physician testified a few of 45 fractures might have been caused that way, noting that only ribs on the front are vulnerable to being broken that way, when the most brutal of all fractures were to the back ribs. Marshall testified he wrested rings from her fingers and wore them because he said he liked them. He also snapped the chains from around her neck, ransacked the house, and cut the phone lines before he left. That's great. So she couldn't even call for help if she wanted to. Or if she could. When he was caught, Marshall desperately tried to slip one of the grandmother's rings off his finger. During the trial, the judge agreed to the defense motion to order the jury to return a not guilty verdict to first-degree M after determining there was not sufficient evidence of planning and deliberation in the K. The jurors unanimously recommend Marshall be eligible to apply for parole after serving 10 years. The judge, however, is not bound by that consensus. Marshall is set to return to court for sentencing on January 24th. He faces an automatic life sentence with parole eligibility in the range of 10. Lila, this is the climax of the story. He was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for at least 18 years. All right, that was a lot. That was a dark story time. I understand. It was just a cool story for me. I'm a huge fan of true crime. It's very interesting to me. So to go sit in an actual courtroom and see how they go through the trial and the evidence and everything and the testimonies, like, it was a wild experience and very sad and disturbing, but I just thought I had to share it with you guys because it was a very, very crazy day. All right, guys, that is all I have. I will see you guys in a future Sunday story time. I'm getting out of here. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. See ya.